lads, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with another championship predictions video, and this game week is a very important game week as it is quite crucial with regards to the playoff race and promotion race, as West Brom play Fulham and Leeds can actually get promoted to the Premier League this week. So let's just basically get straight into what I think the scores will be, and feel free to just leave your predictions down below, and then I'll be putting some of them on screen if you get any right. First game takes place at the Hawthorns between West Brom and Fulham on Tuesday, and it kicks off at 5 o'clock. West Brom currently sitting second place on 81 points, and Fulham are fourth on 76. West Brom, in the last three, they've won 2 and drawn 1. They beat Hull 4-2, and then Derby 2-0, and then last time out drew 1-0 with Blackburn. Fulham, on the other hand, they've won every single one of their games. They beat Birmingham 1-0. And then Forest 1-0 also, and last time out beat Cardiff 2-0. For this one, I think it's going to be a tight game, but I do think Fulham might edge this one, despite West Brom obviously being higher in the table. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win for Fulham, and if my prediction is correct, that gives Brentford the chance to leapfrog them into the automatic promotion places. Next game is between Reading and Middlesbrough at the Majestic Stadium at 6. It kicks off at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. Reading currently sitting 13th spot on 56 points, whereas Middlesbrough are in 19th on 47. In the last 3, Reading have not lost. In fact, they beat Luton 5-0, drew 0-0 with Huddersfield, I mean, what do you mean, Middlesbrough? They're playing Middlesbrough today. And then beat Charlton 1-0. Middlesbrough, on the other hand, they have lost 2 and won 1 of their last 3. Lost 1-0 to QPR, then beat Millwall, They are Middlesbrough. What am I saying about Middlesbrough today? Beat Millwall, 2-0, and then lost 3-1 to Bristol City last time out. For this one, I think Reading, they're on pretty decent form compared to Middlesbrough. So for this one, I'm going to go for a 2-0 away home win for Reading. Next game is at the DW Stadium between Wigan and Hull. Wigan currently sitting 15th spot on 54 points, but they, despite being quite far away from the relegation zone, they could be pulled into it by getting a 12-point deduction, which they're pretty much going to get. They pretty much need to finish 12 points to clear the relegation zone to stay up. Moving on to where Hull are, they are 22nd in that top relegation spot, on 45 points. In the last 3, Wigan have won, drawn and lost. Lost 3-0 to informed Brentford, and then since the administration came, they beat QPR 1-0, and then last time out drew 0-0 against Barnsley. Hull, on the other hand, have lost every one of their last 3, 4-2 against West Brom, 2-1 against Bristol City, and 1-0 against Millwall. Despite Hull's bad form, I feel like they might be able to nick a draw, as Wigan have been rocked quite a bit as a club, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Moving on to the quarter to 8 games on Tuesday, and the first one to kick us off is Cardiff against Derby. Both these teams maybe fight for playoff spots, as Cardiff currently occupy that last playoff spot at the minute in 6th place. They're on 64 points, whereas Derby are 10th on 61 points, and a win for Derby would bring them level on points with Cardiff and propel them into that playoff mix. Cardiff, in the last 3, they've won and lost 2 games. They beat Bristol 1-0 and then lost 3-2 to Blackburn, and last time out 2-0 to Fulham. Derby, on the other hand, haven't won in their last 3, drew 1 and lost 2. They drew 1-0 with Forest, obviously scoring late on in that game, and then last 2 games they have played 2 promotion rivals in West Brom and Brentford, losing 2-0 and 3-1. For this one, though, I do think Derby, they are a good side and maybe can get a point against Cardiff, as they're both on quite similar form. So for this one, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Next game takes place at Kenilworth Road, and it is between Luton Town and QPR. Luton currently sitting 23rd spot on 44 points, whereas QPR in 16th on 53. In their last 3, Luton have won, drawn and lost. They lost 5-0 against Reading, obviously got hammered in that one. Then drew 1-0 with Barnsley, an important point for them. And last time out, they won 2-0 against Huddersfield, a huge 3 points for them. QPR, on the other hand, they've lost 2 of their last 3. The only other game they didn't lose was a 1-0 win over Middlesbrough, and then last time out, they obviously lost 3-0 to Wednesday, and in the middle of that, they lost 1-0 to Wigan, but I'm pretty sure they've lost something like 6 of the last 7, and that win over Middlesbrough being the only exception. Anyway, for this one, I think QPR, I watched the game when they played Wednesday. I just didn't think they offered really much going forward. Like, I'm pretty sure their only one chance that they really had was a pretty much easy save for Wildsmith. So for this one, I think I'm going to go for a 2-0 home win for Luton. Next game takes place at the Den between Millwall and Blackburn. Millwall currently sitting 9th spot on 62 points, whereas Blackburn are in 12th on 60 points. In the last 3, Millwall, they've won 2 and lost 1. They beat Charlton 1-0, then lost 2-0 to Middlesbrough, but last time out they bounced back from that loss against Middlesbrough, winning 1-0 against Hull. Blackburn, on the other hand, they've won, drawn and lost 3-1 to Leeds, then beat Cardiff 3-2 in quite a tight game. And then last time out, drew 1-1 against West Brom. For this one, I think both teams similar form and probably similar strength sides. So for this one, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. On to the final game on Tuesday. It is, I think, yes, and it is at Hillsborough between Wednesday and Huddersfield. We currently see in 14th place on 55 points, whereas Huddersfield are down in amongst that relegation mess, sort of, in 20th spot on 47 points. In the last 3, we've lost 2 and won 1. We lost 2-1 against Swansea, 3-1 against Preston, and then last time out, bounced back with an excellent performance against QPR, winning that one 3-0. Huddersfield, on the other hand, they haven't won in their last 3. They've drawn 0-0 against Preston and Reading, and then last time out, they lost 2-0 to Luton. Despite us bouncing back last time out, we're never really great at home, and Huddersfield are on a bad run of form, so I think we will win this one, but because we're not as good at home as we are away from home, I think we'll win it with this one, but not by a bigger margin, and I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win for Wednesday. Right, lads, next game is the first one on Wednesday. Kicks off at 5 o'clock at Griffin Park, and it is between Brentford and Preston. Brentford currently are in 3rd place in 78 points, whereas Preston are in 8th on 62. Brentford have won every one of their last 3. 3-0 against Wigan, 2-1 against Charlton, and last time out 3-1 against Derby. Preston, on the other hand, have only won 1 of their last 3, drawing the other 2 as well. They drew 0-0 against Huddersfield, beat Wednesday 3-1, and then last time out they drew 1-0 with Nottingham Forest. Despite Preston, they're recovering their form a bit recently. I think Brentford are on just too much of a roll to get drop points in this one, so I think they'll win this one comfortably, 2-0. And if my prediction goes correct with the West Brom game, then that means they will leapfrog West Brom into the top 2, I think, on goal difference. I don't know, but yeah, you guys let me know who you think will get the second automatic playoff spot. Automatic promotion spot, as Leeds are basically already promoted. So yeah, comment down below who you think will get that spot. Next game is again on Wednesday, and again like the Brentford game, it kicks off at 5 o'clock, but this time it is Ashton Gate, and it is between Bristol City and Stoke City. Bristol City currently sitting 11th spot on 61 points, whereas Stoke are in 17th on 49 points. Bristol, in the last 3, they've won 2 of them, but the only other game they didn't win was a 1-0 loss against Cardiff, and after that game, that sort of sacking of manager Lee Johnson, and since he left, they've won both of their games. Their form has been rejuvenated. They beat Hull 2-1, and then last time out, they beat Middlesbrough 3-1. Stoke, on the other hand, their form's been a bit yo-yo-y, as they've won 2 of their last 3, losing the other one to Leeds. They beat Barnsley 4-0, and then after that game, they lost 5-0 to Leeds, but then last time out they beat Birmingham 2-0. These both teams are quite even on form, and I think Stoke, they did get hammered by Leeds, but they've been pretty decent form against the other teams who are not around the top of the table. So for this one, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Moving on to the next game, which kicks off at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, and this is probably between the two most out of form teams in the league, Birmingham and Charlton. Birmingham currently sit in 18th place on 49 points, whereas Charlton are 21st on 46. Birmingham have lost the last 3, and so have Charlton. Birmingham lost 1-0 to Fulham, 3-1 against Swansea, and then 2-0 against Stoke. Charlton, on the other hand, they lost 1-0 to Millwall, 2-1 against Brentford, and then 1-0 against Reading. And I think this game's going to be a really boring one, as both of these teams have only scored 1 goal in their last 3, and they've not scored many goals, so I think this will be a 0-0 draw, as both teams just can't really find their shooting boots at the minute. On to the final Wednesday game and the penultimate game of the game week, and it is between Nottingham Forest and Swansea City, 2 sides pushing for the playoff areas. Forest currently sitting 5th spot on 69 points, whereas Swansea are 7th on 63, just 6 points behind them. Forest have not won in the last 3. They drew 1-0 against Derby, then lost 1-0 against Fulham before, and then last time out they drew 1-0 against Preston. The Swansea, on the other hand, they've won 2 out of the last 3, beating Wednesday 2-1, Birmingham 3-1, but then last time out they lost 1-0 to that late goal through Pablo Hernandez against Leeds. For this one, I think both sides, they're pushing for the playoff areas, and despite Forest being on a bit of a bad streak, I think they're a draw machine at the minute, and I think they might draw their way to consolidating their space in the playoffs. So, like the Forest's last game against Preston, I think this one will be a 1-1 draw. Moving on to the only game on Thursday, and the final game of this game week kicks off at 5 o'clock, and it's the Yorkshire derby between Leeds and Barnsley, and coincidentally it is top against bottom. Leeds are obviously first place in 84 points, and Barnsley are 24th on 43. Leeds have won every one of their last 3 games. Blackburn they beat 3-1, beat Stoke 5-0, and then last time out scored late through Pablo Hernandez, beating Swansea City 1-0. Barnsley, on the other hand, have not won in their last 3 games, lost 4-0 against Stoke, and then drew their last 2, 1-0 against Luton and 0-0 against Wigan. For this one, I think Leeds, they just want to get up to the Premier League as soon as possible, so they'll be going all out in this game, and they're going to be full of confidence. And I think Leeds will win this one comfortably and earn promotion to the Premier League. And I think they'll win this one 3-0. Like a Hellcat.